Hi, Kenneth. Hello. Hi, Kenneth. Can you listen to me? Hello, hello. Hi.
There we go. Okay.
Hey, nice to see you.
Just taking a second to connect. How's it going?
Good, and you?
I'm doing good.
Hey, great to see you.
Yeah, it's been a little bit. Yeah.
I know,
We've both been
yes.
pretty busy, so yeah.
Every time I see you, you look different, Kenneth. You are not the same boy that I met.
It's been years. I actually like grew about an inch in the last 2 months, so I'm now like 6'2", 6'3", something like that.
Wow.
I think I'm almost 2 meters now.
Yes.
Yeah, almost 2 meters. Yeah, just like
Older than your
that
dad,
shy of it.
right?
Yes, I am now. Yeah.
Oh
Yep.
my goodness. How does Annika
Yeah, it
think?
feels weird.
Yes, yes.
Yeah.
And what does Annika said about it?
Oh, I, like when she came home, I told her, and she was just like, "Oh yeah, you do seem a little bit taller." Because for the last semester I did at college, she actually lived down there with me because she wanted to move out and move down to Ames where her friends were. So where we both went to college. So she moved down and we lived together for about 5, 6 months. So yeah.
Wow, that's great. Yes, I mean, Scott was telling me about it. And now, what are your plans? Are you gonna stay in Minnesota?
Yeah, for now I'm staying in Minnesota. It's an expensive economy and our
Yeah, I
government doesn't
know.
want to seem to do anything about it, and prices are not going down. So it's like
Yes, of
I'm going to
course.
stay at home, try and save as much money as I can because I'm obviously going to need it.
Mark.
Uh, and yeah, it's a little tough in the United States right now, so
Yeah.
tougher than we usually have it at least. But so I'm just going to stay here, and I had a job. Unfortunately, I got laid off from it. Tough for them too. And then I will. Well, I'm currently on the job search, so find another job, keep saving up money. So just,
Yeah, that's
you know.
great. And what about Annika? What is she doing now? Is she working?
Yes, so she works remote. She kind of on the
Oh,
laptop, kind of like this. However, most of it's just like computer stuff anyways. Same thing she'd do if she went to the office. She sells, or sorry, creates marketing materials for the people who sell pharmaceuticals for
oh,
veterinary clinics. So
oh, okay.
like the supplies and drugs and just anything from like literally like gauze all the way to like super complicated treatments
Oh,
for
okay.
pharmaceuticals for
That's
vets. Yeah.
awesome. Excellent.
Mhm.
Hi, Heriberto. Good evening.
Hello, good evening, teacher. How are you?
I'm good, thank you. Welcome.
Thank you very much, teacher.
So this is Kenneth, okay? And this is Heriberto.
Nice to meet you, Kenneth.
Nice to meet you too.
All right. So now the students are going to join the class, Kenneth, and I'm going to explain to you a little bit the purpose of this activity. Well, the main purpose is that they practice English with a native speaker, right? So we're gonna be asking you questions and you can ask them also. There are like 5 students, I guess. This is like very private, the class. And they are
Mhm.
like in advanced level, but if you can speak sometimes
Just slow
slow,
it down a
that would
little.
be great
Yeah.
for them, okay? Or if they don't understand something, maybe you can repeat until they get it. But no Spanish in the class.
Mm.
Even though you speak Spanish, but
I
we
don't
want
get to
to
use my
take,
favorite skill. Yeah.
yeah, I know. I'm so sorry for you, but in this class
Yep.
we can't, okay? Because the purpose is that they take advantage of time for speaking in this class, okay?
Yeah.
Thank you
Works
so
for
much.
me.
Okay, welcome Leilani, Elsie, Nelson. Well, Nelson is joining right now. Remember, guys, that I told you about this activity that we're gonna have today. We have a guest today. We have Kenneth, and he's gonna be here helping us with this activity. So, Nelson, welcome.
Good evening, everybody.
Good evening. Great to see you again. Welcome to the
Yes,
class.
teacher.
Well, Nelson, I was explaining to the students about this activity. We have a guest today. We're going to have this half a class for speaking with a native speaker. And you are free to ask different questions. Remember, I want you to speak, guys. That's the purpose of this activity. Okay, so maybe, Kenneth, we can start with a short presentation. And then, guys, if you want to ask a question, please let us know, okay? And you can participate. But please ask as many questions as you can, right? Perfect. Okay, so go ahead, Kenneth. And thank you so much again.
Short presentation like about me and who I am,
Yes,
or
a short
Okay.
presentation so they can ask you more questions.
okay. Well, I know your teacher because she was a sort of what we call an exchange student or a an intern in the United States, and she came back when I was in high school. So ninth grade, or no, that was
Yes.
11th or 12th grade, was it?
Yes,
I
11th
can't remember
at the
exactly.
high school. Mhm.
11th grade. So when I was in 11th grade at my high school here in the United States, she came and she would stay with our family, and she would teach Spanish classes at my high school. And as a result, she gained experience speaking with native speakers, being in the United States, and can now take that experience and use it in your classroom. But I'm Kenneth. My name's Kenneth Bridyhoft. I'm from Minnesota. So that's it's like exact opposite side of the United States from like Texas, which would be the closest state to Mexico and all Central and South America. We're about as far north. We touch Canada, so we're way up there. It's cold. It's really snowy right now, so
Yes.
it's very different. But I'm 23 years old. I went to college here in the United States. I got a business major, and I'm just searching for a job right now with that. Just pretty much here, run of the mill, college educated, 23-year-old in the United States. So yeah.
All right. Thank you so
And
much.
run of the mill just means normal. That's like a phrase we use in the United States.
All right. Thank you, Kenneth. Okay, so remember, everybody has to participate. Okay, so who wants to be the first one? You can ask different questions to him, okay? Go ahead, guys. Don't be afraid, okay? Don't worry. He's gonna help us. Okay, please, hurry up. Time is running.
Hi, may I? May
Yes,
I be
of
the
course.
first one?
Yes, sure.
Good evening. My name is Elsie Alvarenga. I'm living in El Salvador, and I took this course because I want to improve my speaking skill. And thanks for your time, Kenneth. But I would like to know something. I don't know if you have time to make like a role play. In one occasion, and I applied for a call center in our country, and they say you need to practice more how can you sell apply American person.
Sorry,
I'm
he has a
I
baby.
have
Yeah, don't
No
worry.
problem.
yeah, she's my baby. Say hi, say hi. She's my daughter. She's 2 years old.
Nice.
Bye. Okay, that's all for me. I would like to make like role play that we can practice. How can I sell a flight? That is my question. Yeah.
So you can, you said, did she say sell? Sorry, my audio is not
Sell, yeah.
perfect.
Yeah, sell.
Okay, to sell a product like that. Yeah, okay. Mhm.
Because I work in Spanish, but I would like to practice it in English.
Okay.
If you ask him, for example, Expedia.com, I was in Expedia.com account, and was difficult for me when I received a
Yes.
full
Mhm.
English call. You ask me something, or we can practice or make like an example. I would like to listen your question and something like that. Create
Okay.
like a role play, create like an example.
So, and
I don't know.
Expedia is travel, so they're like hotels, accommodations, right? I believe that's what they do. Yeah, I don't believe I've
It's
used their service specifically yet, but that area. Okay, yeah. Okay, sure. And like you're at a call center, like you'd be answering the call.
Yeah, that's what she
Yeah.
meant. Mhm.
Okay, sounds good.
Okay.
Um,
Thanks for calling. Thanks for calling Expedia.com. How may I help you today?
Hi, I have booked a trip down to Florida and I just wanted to confirm a price on that.
I didn't get the first part.
Okay,
That's
so I said, hi, I booked, is that kind of a universal thing that people understand or? Okay, yeah, so that one's kind of like slang because like it's like you used to write it down in a
Yeah,
book.
yes.
So that's why I say that, yeah.
Mhm.
Down to Florida, obviously that's actually pretty common this time of year from Minnesota down to Florida.
Of
But
course.
yeah, usually people, especially like in the United States, we're just going to open up really casual like that. We're just going to say like, "Hey, I booked a trip down to Florida." We'll just like give you a little bit of context, and then we're just going to ask our question right out. So like, "Could I check on a price?" Or like, "Oh, I was a little confused about this. Could you clarify that?" Just like, explain it.
Mhm.
That's usually how most people are going to open up a phone call like
I
that.
don't know what was the word that you used. Close down. If you want to write by chat, please, because I lost in that word. I'm sorry, but
Which word was it?
excuse
Close
me.
down.
That was and I didn't get
Yeah,
the
maybe
idea.
it's because Kenneth, well, we have a lot of phrasal verbs, right? And sometimes
Okay.
we don't use them a lot, and that's why we feel a little bit confused. So
We
could you
will skip
Can you
words.
type
repeat
it like different vocabulary?
Yeah, so what like I'm trying to pinpoint exactly what part I skipped over so I can like change that. And
Sure.
Yeah, it's like a departure. It's like a departure. Where are you going to live?
yes, so I believe exactly what I said was I have booked a trip from or down to Florida. So we
Yeah,
usually don't say like we don't specify like I'm going to go get on the plane and then fly down to Florida. That would be the whole like sequence. However, usually we just kind of shorten it and we say booked a trip to. We don't like say where we're coming from or how we're getting there. We just say usually booked means a flight. How it usually means a plane. However, could mean a train, could mean a bus. Could mean anything. Book just means
okay.
we purchase the ticket or it is in the schedule. However, yeah, and we just say to where. So, yeah, if you, you, you it can be confusing, especially if you don't know
Thanks. I
like.
understand your example.
Mhm.
Thanks. And the prices are very nice for you. I will
Hello.
send by email.
I think I
They
had,
are.
oh, sorry. I think I had problems with my internet. I was not listening to you, but now I'm listening.
That's an
I'm back.
There she is.
Yeah.
Internet issue, yeah. There
Yeah.
you go.
Okay, I'm sorry. Well, Elsie, maybe because of the time, we won't have time for doing the whole role play. But thanks, Kenneth, for giving her the example. Now, another person, could you please ask something to him? Don't be afraid, please. Remember, here we are learning, okay? Go ahead. It's the opportunity for doing it.
Yeah. If you have like any questions about because she brought up a good example is that English is kind of weird in how many things we I guess you could say omit. We
Mm.
kind of skip over words or concepts because they're just assumed. Like I am going to, I'm not saying how I'm going there or why I'm going there or where I'm coming from. I'm just saying my destination and people just know automatically that that's a trip. Like I'm going to Florida.
Mhm.
Well, no, I'm taking a trip. You know, there's just like sometimes we skip over and omit if there's any concepts like that you have trouble with, or any like specific examples you've heard. I could explain those to you,
Thank
or
you.
just anything like that. That's a good, good starting point. If you have any questions, that's a
Exactly.
good way to look at them.
Thank you, Kenneth. Jonathan, do you want to ask something?
Yes, teacher. Good evening. Good evening,
Good
Mr.
evening.
Kenneth. I have a question for you. The first, it is a pleasure to can be in this class. My question is, do you have any tips for improving our English?
Excellent. Good question, Jonathan. Excellent.
So, for improving your English, I mean, the thing that helped me most when I was learning Spanish, at least, that I can speak on that for sure, because I did that for a long time, was it's just using it. It's speaking it was the easiest way. I can read things online, and even some things sometimes don't make sense in English to me too, because like I learned Spanish and English concurrently, like at the same time. So I actually do have trouble with some things in English here and there. Kind of worked it out in school. It's speaking and using it with somebody who is from the country where it's used or uses it every day for work. That is the most valuable thing I was able to do, was speak with interns like your teacher, or have teachers that I could just speak with and do those types of exercises. Reading it on a computer was useful, and like you can learn specific things that way, but the really difficult parts of speech and language in Spanish, it was just speaking it with people. That's kind of how I got through any of my roadblocks, and my school really focused on that, because they were like, most programs that are going to teach another language are very focused on your reading, your writing, things like that. But honestly, a lot of that's going away, because the internet is video like this. You can literally speak to people halfway across the world in an instant, whereas that was impossible back when these language programs started. So, it's just using it, and at least for how my brain works, speaking it. That's what was most important, not reading or writing, or, books do help, and being able to write it and doing things out like that can help with memorization. It can help you figure things out. For me, it was really going and speaking, and having them able to just correct exactly what I was doing, like in the moment. Just, find a subject, talk about it. You'll learn new words in English when you talk about that subject. You'll see some examples of like how people use them, or like the weird exceptions they have in their grammar. So I just think speaking it's definitely the quickest, but I think it's also, for me at least, the most effective way.
Okay. Thank you so
Okay.
much. You see? No more, Jonathan?
Thank you, Mr. Kenneth. But in this case, it's difficult to can speak English every day or maybe all the time, because in our companies I speak only Spanish, but every classmate maybe it have a sacrifice with in my free time. I see the videos maybe, or listen to music, or learn book. I think
That was a good idea. I like that, using videos, because it's like being there and having someone speak it, and being able to pick up on their, like, anachronisms and how they use it. And more often than not, you're going to be speaking it when you do use it in the real world. So I actually like that idea. If you have like an application, I don't know if you have something like Duolingo or anything like that.
Yes, we do.
If you have something like that. So apps like that sometimes have like a speaking prompt style of learning. Like you can choose your style of learning. I know Quizlet had one of those where you could pronounce the words for a while too. I didn't use a ton of them in college, because most of my classes were in person. But apps like that are another good resource because you can speak it and you can pronounce it and it can give you feedback in lieu of, or, you know, to replace an actual person if that's harder to find. Yeah.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you so
Thank
much.
you.
Thank you, Jonathan. Okay, next. I'm missing Nelson, Heriberto, and Leilani.
Me, teacher.
Okay, Nelson, go ahead.
Thank you again for participating in this class.
Mhm.
It's a pleasure to could be with us. And my specific question is regarding with the same idea with Jonathan. If you would have an advice over to improve the learning the other language, and in our case English, what could be the advice?
Trying to see what I didn't cover. I'm really good at having one idea and then talking about it for a while, and then I'm like, oh great, I got to come up with a new idea. Yeah. Let's see. I don't know what did I do? They, like I said, they didn't really have us reading books as much, or and because I, as recently as months ago, I was in Spanish classes here in the United States, you know, learning another language, doing what you guys are doing right now. I was doing them in college. Um, Another tool they used was, is going to sound kind of weird, but learning about history was actually kind of, it was really good. The majority of the classes were history classes, and it's you know, you can talk about sports, but you're not going to learn a ton of different formats and situations. The talking about that's going to kind of feel the same each time. You might not learn too many things, but you know, studying history or different events or different policies that like a government might have, you know, if you study that country's history, every single situation is going to be different. You're going to learn different things in each one. I found that I kind of saw the most confusing parts of speech and the most like, what does that mean, like things in history classes, learning about like, you know, things that have happened in the history of I had one class where we focused a lot on Argentina. They had other ones where they focused on like the Spanish American War and like just little sections of history. It was, I mean, it's kind of like in your own language in Spanish. If you read a book about history in Spanish, you're gonna maybe learn some things you didn't even know in that language. So that was kind of a good skill too, was learning about history and historical events, and
Okay.
it also really helped with like past tense in
Sure.
Spanish. You almost never talk in the past tense about like, you know, normal subjects, but about history, it's all it is. It's all
Yeah.
past tense.
That is
So,
a good point, Kenneth. I like that one. When you said that they can study past tense, which sometimes we have some problems with the verbs in English that you pronounce them in different ways. So, and that we have to memorize them. So that can be a good idea. I like that one. Also for me, because I can use that kind of activities for practicing past tense. So thank you.
Mhm.
More questions, Nelson?
No, teacher, no, Kenneth. Thank you for the advice.
All right. Thank you. Okay. Who is next? Heriberto? And then Leilani.
Yes, it's me, teacher.
Okay.
It is a pleasure, Mr. Kenneth. It is a pleasure to be with you in this meeting. And my question is related to the learning of structures and words, because we are learning English, and sometimes it is something kind of difficult to learn some structure or a word that we cannot understand its meaning. So my question is, what could we do to learn of a better way the structure or a word that we want to learn?
I mean, I do have one idea. It's kind of lazy. But so in college a lot, because I was doing really advanced classes as you guys are currently doing for English, I was doing that for Spanish. And I had a lot of trouble when they were asking me questions about like word structure, and Spanish has a lot more tenses. You guys have like multiple past tenses depending on exactly how you're speaking subject, whereas in English it's just like that thing it's back then, it happened, like it's pretty simple compared in my mind, but of course I learned this one first, so who knows. But I would use a website called Spanish Dictionary, and that one, like you might be familiar with it or not. If you go on that website, you can go from Spanish to English or English to Spanish, and you just plug something in there. Say you have like a root word and you want to look at different versions of it. You want its meanings, you want synonyms for it, things like that. It just gives you all of that when you type something in. I really like that website, and considering that most of my college in the later years was on a computer, as I had the computer, I was in class, but I had it right in front of me. That website helped a lot, that they could explain different structures of words. So finding a resource online that can just lay out structures and English conjugations, how to like equate them from English to Spanish. I mean, yeah, it's kind of a lazy way because it's not like memorizing it, but you always have a computer in front of you, and it's good to be able to double check. Kind of a lazy way to remember, but that's a
That
lot.
helps, right?
It does.
Yeah, actually, we have, well, maybe you know some links, Heriberto, right? Because of your career. Maybe you are familiar with it. And that's what Kenneth did, because he speaks fluent Spanish, and but he was taking like more classes, right, Kenneth, for improving.
The last one I took it was specifically like excluding Mexico and Central America. It was, yeah, in the United States, we consider those two different parts of the world. I don't know why, but in South America,
Yeah.
it was specifically South America's history. So like history of Venezuela, Argentina, Colombia, like that.
Okay. All right. Heriberto, is it okay?
Yeah, it's okay. Thank you, Mr. Kenneth.
Okay, thank you. Leilani, what about you? What's your question?
Hi, good evening. Hi, Kenneth. Nice to meet you. I'm Melanie.
Nice to meet you too.
Well, it's like some mistakes that we make when speaking English. Like we are learning, and you have noted some mistakes that we do.
A little. So most of it, like I said, speaking is going to teach you a lot of weird things that reading a book or writing can't. Like, right at the end of your sentence, I wouldn't have said mistakes that I do. I would have said mistakes that I make. Because what you said is right. It makes sense. It's factual, but might just be my region of the United States. I mean, doing something means like right now. But mistakes I make could mean I'm making it right now, or I've made it in the past. It could mean both. So like that's one example of something that you said. Just it's really, Spanish is learning a lot of different rules that apply to a lot of different situations. English is not very many rules, but a lot of different situations. So I think it's actually harder because like there is no rule that just tells you, do means only right now, but make could means, you did it in the past or you're currently doing it, and that only applies to certain scenarios because sometimes make doesn't make sense, it's very confusing. But that's one correction I can make, is that like if you specifically for a mistake, people usually say like I made a mistake or I'm going to make a mistake. That's not one usually associated with the word do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, in English, we have some verbs that we sometimes get confused, and that is one of those. Another one could be say and tell. Sometimes we say, for example, I say you, okay? And that is a mistake that we make, but that is like very normal. The other one you were telling, make and do. So we get confused, and I can mention other examples, but as you said, right, what we have to do is to practice, okay, in order to get better in this language, okay? So
I never even thought about that. Yeah, say and tell. because they basically mean the same thing.
Exactly.
But yeah, I mean, I guess the best way I could explain it is say usually is like the actual action of speaking, when the fact that you're speaking is the important part of the sentence, whereas tell usually is when there's a different subject. Like the subject is whatever I had said, not the action. So like I'm going to tell you something. The something is the important part. Whereas I said that, the fact that I spoke was the important part of the sentence. So I
Yeah.
suppose that I could explain that as the difference between them. What's important in the sentence dictates what you'll use. So
Another example can be speak and talk.
Mhm.
We, we feel confused with that sometimes. And
yeah, if I'm talking about myself, I'll say like, and again, it also has to do with like past or exactly what the focus of the sentence is. That's a lot of the cases in English is the
Yeah.
focus of the sentence. It's like an informal focus. It may not actually be the subject, but it's what I'm trying to get at by talking. So like if it was, what was the last example you just said again?
I said, what did I say, guys?
'Cause
Speak and talk. Speak and talk.
yeah,
For example,
speak and
sometimes they
talk. Yeah,
say, I
that one's really messy.
I
Yeah.
talk Spanish or
Mhm.
yeah, I think that is the example. Mhm.
Yeah, when you're
I speak a language,
Mhm.
right?
Yep, yeah, when you're speaking about a language, well, I'm even using it in the examples preface. But when we're talking about language, if you're trying to denote that you know a language, yeah, you'll definitely say I speak. You will not say I talk. In no circumstance will you say I
No.
talk English, I talk Spanish. No. But there's kind of one, if you're talking about the action, that's the important part of the sentence. You can say, I was talking in Spanish, but you have to add the in for it to make sense. I
Mhm.
was talking in Spanish because your talking was the important part of the sentence. But every other time it's speak, spoke, I'm speaking, I'm going to speak Spanish, English, languages. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, thank you. All right, we still have 8 minutes. Continue, guys. Elsie, do you have another question?
Yeah,
Are-
if you have like any specific examples that confuse you or anything like any situations that have happened to you, I can help with those too.
Okay, thank you. Elsie?
Hi. No, I guess maybe about the job. What do you do in your country? Tell us about you. I mean, in that area. I mean, if I took my profession, I am an English teacher, and every day is it's like a challenge for me because we have different activities, different kind of children. So with that problem every day. But what about you? Tell us about your job. It's difficult. It's in Spanish, in English. The YouTube channel. I don't know.
Well, so up here I went to college down in Iowa, which is the state just south of us. You want me to speak about myself, not talk about how one would, right? Yeah, you do. You
Yeah,
actually
that
want to
was.
know about.
Mhm.
Yes. Okay. So I was like, am I giving examples or am I actually
No.
gonna? Yeah. Okay. Cool. I went to college down in Iowa, so that's just one state directly south of us. So, funny enough for us, that would be one state warmer, one state closer to the equator. So it would be the opposite. It would be one state south would be colder and further away, because we're way up here. But I went to college in Iowa. They're mostly an agricultural area. It's mostly farms, a lot of corn, actually.
Yes,
That's like their main
that's
thing
what
is
came to my mind.
just cornfields.
Everywhere, yes.
Not a very interesting place. But there's a couple cities that are. The one I went to college in was pretty big. It has about 60,000 people when school is in session. So very big for Iowa. Not huge for all of the United States, but that school down there is called Iowa State, and they have like business schools. They have a good engineering school too. That's what they're kind of famous for. Agricultural, just anything. They have pretty much everything. Not so much medical, but everything else, all the sciences, engineering, business, everything. I went down there. I got a business degree, and I graduated not too long ago in May of last year, actually. So I stayed down there for a little while, then I moved back here to home. As I'm sure you know, economy all over the world is just difficult right now. So I was like, I'll spend some time living with my parents. Usually in the United States, we try to actually move out and just like right after college, we try to go get our own place, just right into the world, right at 21 or 22 years old. And I don't know if that's so common in South America or Central America that people just move out immediately after college or high school or whenever they first start working.
Not always. Yeah.
Yeah, how common everywhere, because I mean, same as anybody who's lived somewhere their whole life. I've only lived in Minnesota and Iowa for any like long period of time, but usually that's what you would do. However, that's kind of changing, especially because of the economy and just kind of the acceptance of it. People actually kind of stay with their parents usually for a couple years after college. You can move out if you want, or you can do that. And that's becoming a lot more common, specifically in my generation, like, people who are just now graduating from college. So I'm doing that. I'm staying here for a couple years because rent is very expensive in Minnesota. It's crazy. Like you basically can't find a single place where you pay less than $1,000 a month, US dollars. So,
Yeah.
which is a lot of money. Probably a huge amount of money in most parts. It's pretty big for us. It's less for us because it's really inflated here. But it yeah, it's just kind of crazy. I was like, I really don't have a reason to go get my own place at this point. So I'm just staying here. And I had done some once I finally got back after summer, I finally came back, moved up here after moving some of my other friends and helping out. I worked at a local, it was a Fleet Farm is what it's called. It's like a hunt doors and like construction. It's kind of like there's one called Menards too, but it's like an industrial store. And I was working there helping people find products and helping selling things to them, stuff like that. I like that job, but I was like, I don't know, not really for me. Wasn't quite what I was looking for. So I actually went and I joined, and it was kind of far too. It's like 30 minutes from my house. So
Wow.
every day, should,
Yeah.
Wow. From your house at your job.
my state is literally only the in is like 6.5 hours from the highest point to the lowest point. If you just drove straight, 6.5 hours. So Iowa is like 4 from the highest point to lowest point. Where the states here are huge. Like a single state in the United States is the size of the majority of countries.
Yeah.
So
You know,
like Minnesota's bigger than most trees.
yeah.
So
In Central America, it's kind of near. If I want to travel to San Miguel or La Union, just 3 or 2 hours, 2 hours and a half. Take
Mm.
it's kind of near. Yeah.
that's quick. If I want to exit the state of Minnesota from where I am right now, I'm actually pretty close to a border, still an hour and a half to exit the state. So, which is
Yeah.
crazy because I'm basically next to a border. So, like,
Yeah.
it's the scale is just huge up here. But I did that, and then I was like, you know what? I'm a big car guy. I love cars, so I actually signed up with a place here in Eden Prairie in my hometown. So where I live, it's like 5 minutes from my house, so it's really close. By car, by walking, 40 minutes. I don't know, crazy, but we drive really fast here. So
True. Yeah.
yeah, that's what most people have noted. Most of the interns when they first came here and they got in a car, they're like, wow, you guys drive really fast. So I'm like, seems normal to me, but
Yeah.
because we have so much space. But I signed up there and I was actually detailing and like doing paint repair and just I don't know if detailing translates. Essentially, it's like really professional car cleaning. So they would fix cars there. It's a like auto shop. They would fix them up, paint them, get their body panels looking perfect, and then we would go over like the last step. That was my job. So I was doing that till about a week ago, and unfortunately, I got laid off. They didn't have enough. It's a small business, so they didn't have enough money to be paying payroll because I'm not sure if you guys here, but in a business that is the most